Hi everyone, I hope you're really well. It is that time for me to go through my best and worst of beauty for February. Sorry it's a bit late, I'm literally just getting the chance to sit down and film it now, and I have been doing my usual thing of chasing some kind of daylight around this place, and we are here today. I have got a lovely view right now of some grey miserable drizzle outside, so it's weird to think that it was only like a week ago it was all snowy and now it's just like typical English weather really. I was going to say kind of spring weather, but to be fair, we kind of get this year round generally. Anyway, I hope you guys are all really well. I've got a few things to go through, some good, some not so good. So let's jump on in. So the first thing I've got here to talk about this month is this cleanser here from Pond's. It's their very, very famous cold cream, which I think has been around for a seriously long time, and I've always wanted to try it. This is one of the different ones they do. They also do, I think it's a green one, there's like an anti-aging one as well or something. I can't remember why I got this one specifically, the pink one, and I'm not 100% sure what makes it different to the other ones, but I picked it up and I don't like it. And I'm really gutted because it's one of these products that I've wanted to try for the longest time. Now, whether I would be better off trying one of the other ones, and maybe it's one of the other ones that everyone really likes, maybe the green one, but this one, I was expecting just some kind of nice cream cleanser, particularly for removing like eye makeup. And what I got instead was something that was very emollient-y. It reminded me of a cream, and I can't think what cream it is, but some kind of like almost barrier cream, because it's really kind of sticky and greasy and oily, but in the way that when you try to remove this, it's so hard. You can feel the residue on your skin all the time, and I immediately assumed I was using this wrong. So I actually did some reading up on it because I thought, you know, there is a chance I'm using it wrong. I know that this is a really popular cleanser, so I automatically assumed it was something to do with me. And when I looked into it, I was using it right, and you can use this all over your face, which I certainly would not want to. But yeah, it just leaves this really weird, thick, stubborn, greasy residue on the skin. The type of residue that if you splashed your face with water, the water droplets are just not going to penetrate it. They're just going to sit and run off your face. So I've been massively put off this. I do keep reaching for it just to use it on my kind of eye area, just to see if it helps break down makeup. But it just feels really unpleasant, thick, greasy. I really wish I could think of the cream that it reminds. Now I know what it reminds me of. Oh my god, I've just remembered. It's like nappy cream. It's like if you've had a child or you've changed a child's nappy, you know the barrier cream that you use? It's like that. Oh my goodness, it just literally came to me, and I don't want to be putting that on my face, because the whole point of bum cream for children is it creates a protective barrier against moisture, and we didn't use disposable nappies with my little boy for very long. I wanted to use cloth nappies, and it was only because he was so small that, well, it wasn't just because he was so small, it was because I didn't really know what I was doing, because he came early and I hadn't properly had a chance to look into cloth nappies. But we started using cloth nappies when I think he was about 10 weeks old, and you can't use barrier creams like this with, not that this is a barrier cream, sorry, I'm going off on a crazy tangent right now. You can't use those kind of creams with cloth nappies because it ruins the fabric and stops them from being quite so absorbent. And that's exactly what this feels like. It feels like one of those old school baby bum creams, which is there to stop their bums from getting irritated by wee, basically. And that's just what it reminds me of when I put it on my face. I'm so glad I remembered. It's just not pleasant. So I think I've spent enough time talking about this. Next, I've got this mascara from It Cosmetics. It's their Superhero Mascara. I didn't pick this up on its own. I picked it up as part of, I think it was a QVC special value set. And I am having a bit of a funny relationship with this mascara. I have poked myself in the eye more times than I can probably count, and I don't know what it is about it. I don't know whether it's the length of the brush, whether it's something to do with the bristles, I don't know. So already not off to the best start. The formula is very thick and creamy, and when you pull it out, you get an awful lot of product deposited on the bristles because there's not really anything cleaning it off as you're pulling it through, which is personally something I do not like in a mascara. I prefer to wipe off a bit more product because generally that leads to clumpiness. So you get a lot of product on there. The formula itself, like I said, is very thick and creamy, and it does give you a fair amount of time to get things going, but boy, can it take quite a while to get me to the point where I'm happy, and you can overdo it so easy with this. In terms of the formula itself, like I said, it's quite a thick and creamy formula, which does feel quite nice when you're putting it on, but it does take a long time, for me at least, to get to the point where I'm happy with how things are looking. And you can literally go from being happy to having overdone it really quite fast as well. And I don't quite know how that happens, because it takes a while and then suddenly you'll go to do another coat and it's like, oh wow, okay. So maybe you need to wait a little bit longer between each coat drying or something, but I just don't really have time to be hanging around for that kind of thing. Its staying power is quite impressive. This does actually last on me really nicely all day. I don't suffer with any smudging issues, which for me personally is my biggest issue. I'll either get smudging under here really badly because of the fact that I do have quite oily skin, or I'll even get it on my eyelids as well, depending on the mascara, and I don't actually get that at all with this, so that is a huge plus and a reason to like it. When it comes to removing it, I find that it is quite tricky to remove, which is fair enough given its staying power, but it does just come off in funny little bits which cover your face, instead of a lot of mascaras where you'll use like maybe an oil-based cleanser or something and it breaks the product down and it just kind of melts away. This does not melt, it just kind of falls apart. It's really strange. So I do like this one, and I also don't like it at the same time as well. I don't like it enough to probably pick it up again, just purely because of the fact that there are so many other mascaras out there to try, but I don't hate it enough that I am thinking, oh my goodness, I need to get rid of this right away because it's doing nothing for me. It's got just enough redeeming features for me to be happy about it, but not necessarily buy it again. So it's been nice to try this one. It Cosmetics is a fantastic brand, but in terms of the Superhero mascara, it just wasn't quite the superhero that I wanted it to be. Next, I have this moisturiser from Origins, and this is a new moisturiser of theirs. Not that I knew that it was new at the time when I bought it. And this is their matte moisturiser with Willowherb, and this is just 30ml in here, so this isn't a full-size one. But I really, really like this moisturiser. I did mention it in my February highlights, I think it was, after I first got it. And I've been really, really enjoying using this. And since I've been using it, I'm kind of seeing it everywhere. This was one of these random end of transaction purchases when you're going to buy some stuff and they tantalise you at the last minute saying, why not try this? And I think there was like £1.50 off the price than if you bought it normally. So I picked this up for £13.50. But it's a lovely moisturiser, and normally a moisturiser with the word matte in it kind of fills me with dread, because you know that it's just going to suck the life out of your skin and give you a very flat and unhealthy looking finish. But there was just something about this, I think the price helped, that made me think, I'm going to come out of my spending ban for a moment and actually try this and see if it's any good. And I'm so glad that I did, because I have really enjoyed using it. You can see that it's got a bit more of a gel texture, but don't be fooled in thinking that that means it's going to be very drying and not very thirst quenching on the skin. In terms of how it feels when you're actually using it, it's a really nice refreshing gel which feels quite cooling because of the fact that it's a gel on the skin. So it's really nice to use in the morning because it does wake you up a bit and feel very refreshing. It's very spreadable as well, if you know what I mean, where sometimes with moisturisers, particularly ones that are kind of mattifying, you'll put it on and your skin just kind of sucks up the little moisture that's in there, and then you end up using a ton of product because you just can't spread it any further. This one isn't like that at all. It's got a really good level of spreadability to it, so you can easily get a small amount to cover your face. But what I really like about this moisturiser is you can actually use quite a decent amount, which normally I tend to shy away from, because that means that although it feels lovely and hydrating and moisturising at the time, I know I'll be paying for it later once my oils come through as well, and the two things kind of mix together and it creates a complete greasy nightmare. If you've got oily skin, I'm sure you know what I'm referring to right now. So the fact that you can actually use a moisturiser and use a fairly decent amount of it as well is really nice. In terms of the fact that I've just put some on my hand now, it's already dried, it already feels smooth and ready for makeup, and I'm not sure if there's going to be that much of a difference to be seen between the backs of my hands, but it does leave a bit of a subtle, healthy glow as well, and it just makes your skin look alive and beautiful. And not only does it look nice, but it actually feels really nice as well. It feels incredibly comfortable. It feels smooth and, like I said, ready for makeup. Any dry bits that I've got, it takes care of. Any oily bits I've got, it takes care of. It's also supposed to help with like tightening of pores, and I think that's something to do with the Willowherb being in there. I guess it does kind of give a bit of a blurring effect because of the fact that it's mattifying the skin, but it's also leaving some kind of glow property as well. And I don't quite know how that actually works. It's like some kind of clever magic. But particularly this part of my face here, either side of my nose, where my pores are that bit more visible, they do seem to look slightly less visible, but I wouldn't get too excited about it being able to do that in some kind of miraculous way, because it's not going to, but it does help diminish the look of what's actually there. So I am definitely pleased with this random purchase that I made, because it was completely random. I'd never heard of it before, and it was literally a case of seeing something as I was checking out, and I just thought, that sounds really nice, I've got to pick it up. And it is just a really beautiful moisturiser that makes your skin look lovely on its own, but it also just enhances whatever makeup you put on top of it as well. It just makes your skin look so good, but also actually feel good as well. And for me, that's a massive deal, because I find it really hard to find a really nice moisturiser that works well with my tricky skin, but also works well with whatever makeup I'm putting on top as well. So I've really liked this one, and it's not ridiculously expensive either. Speaking of good looking skin and makeup that goes on well on top of that moisturiser, I would be crazy not to mention this foundation, which is a bit difficult to hold up when it's still in its packaging because of how shiny it is, but you guys probably expected me to talk about this. This is Lancome's Teint Idole, and I've got two different shades here actually. I've got 010, which is beige porcelain, and 011 beige crystalline. And I've actually got beige crystalline on today because I'm 90% sure I'm going to be picking up the full size of the beige porcelain, but then I put on beige crystalline and I think, oh, I don't know actually, because this one kind of looks good too, and does it suit the rest of my body in shade a little bit better? Because This one is a bit more kind of beigey pinky, and this one is a bit more kind of beigey yellowy. And as much as I believe I have a cool undertone, I think this one might just suit my body a bit more. I'm not sure. I'm still trying to figure it out. I've still got quite a lot of these samples left to use, but honestly, I've spoken about this foundation so many times, but like I said, I think it would be wrong of me not to mention this in Best and Worst of Beauty, because this for me has been the discovery of, I don't know, since I've been testing foundations. This is the first foundation that I've tried a sample of that I have definitely wanted to get the full size of. Some others have come close. Some foundations I've tested, I've already had the full size of, whether it's been something from the drugstore or like something from It Cosmetics where it's come in a pack. But a lot of the time with the trendy foundations that get a lot of hype in the beauty community on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, wherever, I usually want to try a sample because one, it's usually quite tricky to find a good shade match, and two, these foundations, the high-end foundations, are quite expensive, and I am not in a position where I can just go out and, you know, pick up a couple of them or even one of them and then not like it and then potentially have it sat around. So a lot of my foundation reviews, as you know, do come from samples, of which this is a good example of what I got from Funique's Pick and Mix service. So yeah, this is the first foundation I've ever actually wanted to get the full size of, and I can definitely tell you guys that I will be picking up the full size once these samples have run out. It's just a case of trying to find the right shade. As I have said, it's not perfect, but I think it's about as close to perfect as I am personally going to find. I'm really not sure if anything is going to better this because my skin is quite tricky to find a good match for. I am suffering from fine lines and wrinkles. I've got a real dry patch here, and I've got a real situation with spots in this particular area here, just little ones, just refusing to go away. They keep coming up. And on top of that, I've then got the oily skin as well. So it's quite a lot of issues for a foundation to be able to cope with. And for the most part, most foundations just let me down in one way or another. If they're catered for oily skin, they tend to be too drying on the dry bits and the mature bits. If they're catered for more kind of normal combo skin, then the oiliness takes over. So it's really hard for me to try and find a good match. And I am pretty fussy about trying to find a good match because I want to find something that I'm not having to worry about either breaking down or looking weird or accentuating dryness or my wrinkles, or it's a really difficult situation. And like I said, Lancome's Teint Idole is not perfect, but it is about as close as a perfect foundation as I've ever got. And because of how well it's coped with the multitude of sins that are on my face, I really think it would suit a lot of different skin types. And it also comes in the 40 shades as well, so there's a really good chance that you'll be able to find a shade that does actually suit you. In fact, like me, you'll probably be a little bit spoilt for choice because I have happily gone out and worn 5 different shades and I don't think I've looked too peculiar. It's just about narrowing it down and getting the perfect shade, because when this goes on, it can look so natural, so amazing. This is actually a really light layer of foundation. What I've put on today is a much lighter layer than I normally would do, because I got to the point where I put it on and I looked in the mirror and I thought, I'm actually really happy with that. I think that light layer looks really nice, and I don't tend to do a light layer of anything because I do have stuff that I want to cover up. In terms of how I apply this foundation, I have definitely found a way that works for me, and it works particularly well with the fact that I do have oily skin. What I do is I quickly buff on a layer with a buffing brush. I quite like using my Zoeva 104, but any kind of foundation brush that's quite compact but flexible and will give you a quick layer of coverage is what I tend to go for first. But then what I do is I get a damp beauty blender and I just go around all the edges. I quickly bop over the top of everything, and what that does is it does just tend to help the product really mesh with the skin and give it that really natural, beautiful look, whilst also not leaving too much residue product either, so that I'm going to be regretting it later when my natural oils do come through and everything starts to look just a bit greasy. So in all the experimentation that I've done, if you've got oily skin and you're considering this foundation, that is actually a really good way of applying it, and I've had by far the best results of applying it that way. I don't know how well it will come up on camera, but I just love how good my skin looks with this foundation on. Unfortunately, it doesn't last all day looking flawless, but it's also a really easy one to just touch up and pop on a little bit more, and suddenly you've got that amazing looking skin again. So I'm really not bothered about having to do that just to touch up, because I'd rather do that and have everything look really good for as long as possible than kind of just leave things as they are. Because with a lot of foundations I've tried, unless maybe it's a powder foundation, and even then that's not always the case, if you try and build up on top of a foundation where it's worn off with the foundation again, things can start to look very cakey and unnatural, and it just doesn't look right. You just can't get away with it, whereas this foundation, you can definitely get away with it. So I absolutely love this stuff, and one day I might stop talking about it, you never know. So the last product that I have got to talk about this month is this product here from Bumble and Bumble, and it's their very famous surf spray that I know a lot of people love. And this is a very small 50ml bottle that I've got here because it came in a pack. I think it was a special offer at some point way back when. I'm pretty sure I vlogged about it as well, where they had an offer with all these different retailers had come together and put this pack together, and it included obviously this. I think there might have been an Estee Lauder Advanced Night Repair in there as well. There was a mascara, or a MAC mascara. Can't remember what else was in there, but it came in a pack of different things. And I thought, fantastic, I've always wanted to try this stuff because people rave about this. Whether you've got, you know, quite curly hair like I have, whether you've got straight hair, whether you've got something in between like a little bit of a wave, this stuff can give you a really nice kind of beachy, wavy look with a bit of hold. And I know that there are tons of products like this out there, these kind of salt sprays, but most of them are rubbish from what I believe, and this is kind of the daddy of them all. This is supposed to be the really, really good one. So I was really keen to try it. It's taken time for me to figure out how best to use this stuff, because you can overdo it and end up with very crispy, horrible feeling hair that feels kind of mattified and unpleasant. But I think I've got to the point now where I'm happy with how I'm supposed to use this. And generally speaking, the way I use this is I will put it on damp hair. I've tried it on dry hair and it doesn't seem to really do anything. I think the hair needs a little bit of moisture in there already to work, certainly on me anyway. But what I really like about this is it gives you the hold that you need, and this product has been missing from my curly hair care routine, and I'm not sure if there's a dupe for it or whether there's something similar that I could replace it with. But what it does is it helps me keep my curls all day. That's the biggest problem I've ever had with my curly hair. When my hair is freshly styled, it looks amazing and I'm really pleased with it, but gradually throughout the day it just gets fluffier, I lose definition, and it's really frustrating. However, this helps me get that definition back. It holds the curl really nice. It is what I've used in my hair today. But an exciting benefit of using this is it really helps with me being able to restyle my hair on a second, on a third day. Not quite stretched it into a fourth because my head just starts to feel horrible by that point. But particularly on work days, I don't want to be messing around too much with having to style my hair. And this has massively, massively helped. So if you're considering any kind of curly hairdo, whether it's kind of hyper curly like me, or you want a bit of a wave, but it's actually going to hold, This stuff has been a real pleasure and I've really enjoyed using it, and I'm probably going to be picking up the full size at some point, because unless you guys tell me that there's something similar that will help hold my curls and help me with my second and third day styling as well, because it does reactivate with a spray of water really well, then I'll continue to get this one. So that's it for this month. My battery light is flashing, so it's a good time to finish. I hope you're all really well. As usual, let me know what products you've used this month, what discoveries you've made if you've made any, and I will see you again soon. Bye.